I use these settings to improve my freestyle and competitive playing over 100%. These settings will either take you to the next rank or improve your freestyle ability drastically. I've done freestyle for a couple years in tournaments against the likes of Jaxi, TX and many others. These settings are ones I've created through all of the years of trial and error, so make sure to stay to the end of the video to see all of my settings. Before I get into the settings, like and comment to push this video on the algorithm and to hit my like target of 50 likes in this video. These settings are the best settings for FENNEC for comp and freestyle. I've made it in between so you can freestyle and do competitive with them. I'll show you the camera settings now. So starting off with the gameplay, all of these are basically default. I think a few of these aren't default, but I don't think any of these actually matter. I think this is the one I've changed, but I don't know. So now for the camera settings, field of view I've got at 110. Some people have at 100. That's more for people who do air dribbles and freestyle, but for competitive I would always have it for 110. Now for distance, I've got distance at 260. If you want to do more clip hitting, maybe you have it like 250 or so, but I always think 260 is the best middle ground. Having it at 260 you can see the whole field for comp, and you can still do freestyles. For freestyling I prefer it around 240, but you can't really see the field that well, so it doesn't really transition well into comp. So I normally have it 260 so I can do comp and freestyle at the same time. So now for the height, I've got it at 110. I normally do have it at 100, but I feel like for comp I prefer it at 110. For 100 I always have that for freestyle. That's so you can have the ball on top of your car and you can just see underneath your car really well. But for 110 it's a good middle ground for everything, and I normally use FENNEC for comp. So if I'm using the FENNEC I always use 110. Now for height, I've got it at -4. Some people do have it a lot higher, some people have it a bit lower. But I think -4 is a good middle ground. If you're doing flip resets, you might want it -7. So let's say you're a clip hitter doing flip resets, I would put it near -7, -9 or so. This is so you can see on top of your car when you're doing them. I'm not the biggest fan ever, but people do have it. People have it at like -10, it's just stupid. But mine's -4, you can have it -3, but I think -4 is the best middle ground for all. -3, it doesn't really seem right. But it's mainly just personal preference. No one really cares what camera settings you have. Now stiffness. For comp I normally have it a lot lower. For freestyle I normally have it higher. Stiffness is basically when you go supersonic your car goes really far back. The camera on the car goes far back. And if I have it right up here, the camera just doesn't move at all, it just stays still the whole time. I prefer the stiffness when it's higher like this, but I know most people prefer it when it's a lot lower. That makes your clips look a lot cleaner, you can see a lot further in the field. It's just all around a lot better to have it lower in my opinion. But still, a lot of people do have it higher. I think some pros have it at 1 as well. These bottom 3 are mainly just personal preference, to be honest. They're nothing too special. Now swivel speed I've got 1.4, transition speed I've got 1.4. Basically these is the speed that it transitions between the car and ball here. I always prefer to have it 1.4 for both. I feel like it makes my clips look a lot cleaner, and it's just all round better in comp because it's like a quick transition to the ball. I want to see the ball, bam. So I think all round that's a lot better. Now for inverted swivel, I always have inverted swivel on. Some people have it off and I don't think they know what it does. Inverted swivel is something that you use more in freestyle, and it basically is the camera swiveling around on top of your car when you're doing air dribbles and flip resets. So I prefer to always have it on, I've just always preferred it a mile. But it's your choice, to be honest. If you don't prefer it, then turn it off. But if you want to have good air dribbles and good flip resets, make sure to turn inverted swivel on. Then if you've got Bax mod, there'll be a lot of pro settings under camera preset here. So if you've got Bax mod, make sure to check this bit out. I don't have Bax mod and I can't be bothered to turn it on every time, so I just leave it off. But if you've got Bax mod, I definitely recommend just scrolling through the pro settings here and seeing if you really like any of them. And obviously camera shake off. Now for my keybinds, I personally don't think keybinds matter at all. People who say keybinds matter, they're just wrong. It's just whatever you're used to. I've got many default ones, I've changed power slide and I've changed my air roll. But it really doesn't matter what you've got. Just use what you're used to. Having RB for boost instead of B doesn't make any difference at all. People say it's like the best thing ever, but realistically, it really doesn't matter at all. But most of my keybinds are all default, nothing too special here. Quickly scroll through them all. Now for the sensitivity and dead zones, I've got the first two at 2. The higher up, it could be a lot better to have it higher up for comp. I normally just have it around 2 because I do freestyling. The lower down it is, the easier it is for air dribbles and just air dribbles. The higher up it is, the easier it is for flip resets and musty flicks. So I think 2 is a good middle ground that have good musty flicks and flip resets and also having a good air dribble. But for comp, you might want to boost it up to like 2.5. I honestly wouldn't have it any higher than 3. People have it right up here. I don't know how you control your car. Just put it at 2 or 2.5. It's so much easier down here. And I've tried out all of these, and I think 2 is the best by far. Controller dead zones, I've got 0.15. If you're doing comp a lot, I would recommend putting it like 0.05. Some people normally line their car up to a line, so let's say this line here, and if you press forwards and your car goes off the line, then that's too low. So let's say I have it at 0.01. My car will just drive, it won't drive in a straight line as you see. You don't want that to happen. You want the lowest one possible where your car drives straight. And I think it's 0.05 for me. Yeah, my car's driving straight now. But not entirely straight, but so I would have it 0.05, but I like to do freestyle and I prefer it at 0.15. I think that's the best middle ground for all. So I recommend you put it at 0.15. Stalling doesn't really matter, I can still stall consistently, even if it's at 0.05, it doesn't really matter at all. Some people say you have to have it 0.3 to stall, they're just wrong, you can stall at anything. It's just your timing and practice. Now for dodge dead zone, I've got 0.3. Some people have it much higher, like 0.7, some people have it a lot lower, like 0.2. I think 0.3 is the best middle ground as well. And I think 0.3 is perfect for all. It makes your car feel lighter, it makes your car feel really good when you've got the ball. I just recommend 0.3 and 0.15. I don't use keyboards and none of these matter at all. Interface, the only thing I've changed is nameplate scale. I've put that up to 120 instead of 100. That's so I can see the other people on my team and the opponents in the other team a lot easier. And I also have team coloured boost meter on. Some people ask me, how is your boost meter that colour? It's because of that setting there. It changes it entirely. The video, I've got all of these in performance. Everything down like that. So there's nothing special there. But just for the video, I've got all of them high. Audio, if I was in comp, I would probably have it a lot higher like that, but I normally listen to music and I just don't want to be hearing the game sound. I just don't really care that much. So I've always got master at 0. I prefer that a lot. Now the chat, it's nothing special. I think it's just all default. Copy it if you want, but who really cares? And that's all of the settings for FENNEC. If you want to learn a mechanic, I've got every single mechanic on my channel. So make sure to check my channel out if you want to